You may have heard that the speed limit is a limit and not a target. And for over 15 years of teaching people to drive in Great Britain, it's a sentence that I occasionally use. But when you think about it, it's just not true. If you don't treat the speed limit like a target, it's unlikely you're going to pass the driving test. In hindsight, I should have stopped using that sentence a long time ago. And I think the reason why I continued to use it is because the sentence itself is the truth. The speed limit is a limit, not a target. But the problem is, to pass your driving test in Great Britain, you need to make the most of the speed limit when it's safe to do so. So I was telling my pupils the speed limit's a limit, not a target, but when they were driving, if we were below the speed limit and I felt they had enough skill to go faster, I would encourage them to get closer to the speed limit, to treat it like a target. And if they didn't drive like that, if they just stayed way below the speed limit unnecessarily, it's unlikely they would pass. And that's why I'm making this video, to help you understand what's expected of you during the driving test in Great Britain. The speed limit on this road is 30 miles per hour, and at the moment it's safe for me to do 30. But you know what? I've decided I don't want to do 30. I want to do 20. So there we go. 20 miles per hour. Now, not straight away. Let's give it a little bit of time. That's probably long enough. By now, most examiners would give a minor mark for appropriate speed because there's no reason to be doing 20 at the moment. It's safe to do 30 and the road has a 30 mile per hour speed limit. I'm going to speed up now before I generate a queue. Cars are starting to catch up behind. So on the driving test, you do need to make adequate progress. And if it's safe to do the speed limit, then you should do at least close to the speed limit. And if I would have stayed at 20 miles per hour on that 30 mile per hour road for very long, when it's clearly safe to do 30 miles per hour, that would become a serious mark and therefore a driving test fail. However, when you approach hazards or junctions, you must slow down however much you need to deal with the hazard or junction safely. Let's see how fast I go then. Well, I'm getting close to 30 miles per hour now because I can see far enough and I'm not close to objects either side of me, but there are parked cars in the road up here, so I'm going to slow down just in case someone's coming around the bend. I can make it past the cars before the oncoming truck, so I'll keep my speed up and get past whilst maintaining a full door's width from the parked cars. If I had to get closer than a door's width from the parked cars, I would have slowed down, like I might have to here, which is why I'm slowing down, just to see how much space is going to be. And it is getting a little bit tight here, so I've slowed right down to 10 miles an hour. I think I need to be about 10 to be safe here, because I'm very close to the parked car and the oncoming car. But now I can start to speed up because there's more space, but I'm slowing back down again due to the mini roundabout. Looks like I'm going to have to give way to this red car because I've just missed the shield there. After the red car, it looks like I can go, so I will. And I have parked cars on the left. How much space am I going to have from them? Well, enough to go a little bit faster than this, but I can only go as fast as the cars in front of me at the moment. And at the moment, I'm doing about the same speed as them. They look really far away on camera, but remember, the camera makes things look super far away due to the wide angle lens. So I'm doing 24 at the moment, and I'm just starting to slow down a little bit, firstly because this van is sticking out a bit, which means I'm closer to the van, but also then because I have a mini roundabout. I'm now at an appropriate speed to stop by the line if I need to. I don't need to, so I'm continuing. I've got a zebra crossing. I can't see the left side very well. I can now, just as I finished saying that, I could see this left side, so I know I'm good to go across the zebra crossing. And now I'm speeding up because it's clear there's no reason to go slow. I'm not near parked cars and I can see far enough. There's a bend, but I can still see far enough. There's some signs here warning me of roadworks. I'm slowing down a little bit. Where are these roadworks? Well, it looks like the lights are off, so I'm going to go through cautiously, and it looks like they're dismantling them. That's why. So I'm going to speed up now. I can see the situation. I have an oncoming silver car. I'm just starting to slow down again because the oncoming silver car and the next silver car means I'm going to be nearer the parked cars. They're giving way and letting me go through, so thank you very much. I'll speed up and use the middle. We could have gone both together if they wish, but that's up to them. And now I'm speeding up because I've got a nice distance from the parked cars, but I'm approaching the oncoming car, so I'm going to slow down a little bit as I get nearer the parked cars. Now I can get away from the parked cars, I'm speeding up and making full use of that speed limit when it's safe to do so. And that's what you need to do. When you can, or when it's safe to do so, do the speed limit. Slowing down a bit now because I'm nearer the curb due to the truck, going to be near the van due to the oncoming van, so I'm staying slow. Down into second gear, I'm doing about 15 miles an hour now because I'm close to that parked car. But then when that hazard has gone, when I've cleared that hazard, should I say, I'm then speeding back up. So as you can see, I was rarely doing 30 miles an hour there, yet I was driving at an appropriate speed. And that's because there was nearly always a hazard or a junction that I was dealing with. So once I got up to speed, I had to slow back down again. Therefore, I didn't get much time at 30 miles an hour. Whereas the road before, well, that was clear. I could get up to 30 and stay at 30 because there wasn't currently any hazards for me to deal with. So doing 20 on that road wasn't appropriate. So when you're on a road with plenty of hazards, you have to keep changing your speed to reflect the situation. And this is where learners struggle because the pedals don't come naturally to new drivers. They have to learn them. And what learners tend to do is once they speed up, they tend to stay fast, or once they slow down, they tend to stay slow. And what I have to do as an instructor is constantly be encouraging them to say, look, that's clear, we can press on here, or look, there's hazards there, we need to slow down. And with practice, with encouraging them to speed up and slow down, they start to get more familiar with the controls, and slowing down and speeding up becomes more natural. When that happens, they start to choose a more appropriate speed more often. However, when I'm encouraging my pupils to go faster, I'm not telling them what speed to do. I'm just making them aware that we're now past the hazard, the road is clear, can we go faster? And they only go as fast as what they feel comfortable doing given their current ability. If I try and force my pupils to go faster than they're currently comfortable doing, well, that doesn't usually help them, and it can lead to confidence issues. But with time and practice, how fast they feel comfortable doing gradually increases. It's a bit like throwing people in the deep end of the pool. Sometimes it helps them learn how to swim, but other times it just leaves them permanently scarred, maybe for the rest of their life, and they have fear towards water. The same is true in driving. If I throw people in at the deep end, yeah, I may help some of my pupils, but for others, I may just cause them a lifelong anxiety towards driving, which is why I always start at a low level and gradually let my pupils build up in their own time. I don't push them to go faster than they feel comfortable with. I let them grow at their own speed, but I encourage them to make the most out of what they can currently do. In fact, this is one of the ways I judge whether or not my pupil is test ready. It's not the only thing I consider, but it's one of them. When I'm sitting in the passenger seat as an instructor, does my pupil slow down for hazards and junctions appropriately? Does it feel sketchy because they're going too fast, or does it feel comfortable? And once we've cleared that hazard and junction, do they speed up to an appropriate speed? If it's safe to do the speed limit, do they do the speed limit, or do they only do maybe 80% of the speed limit? If they're only doing 80% of the speed limit when it's safe to do the speed limit, that tells me they need more practice. This road has a 30 mile per hour speed limit, and I don't think it's ever safe to do 30 down here. And that's due to the lack of space. There's parked cars on both sides of the road, and that's always the case. And given how close I am to the parked cars, if one of them was to open a door or someone was to step out from between the parked cars, well, that's going to be dangerous. At the moment, I don't feel safe going much faster than I'm going now, which is, well, 11 miles an hour. So the speed limit is 30, but it's not currently safe to do 30. What inspired me to make this video was recently I posted a short clip of a mock test on TikTok, and in that clip I gave the driver a minor mark for going too slow because they were doing 60 miles an hour on a 70 mile an hour stretch of road when it was safe to do 70. And that video got a lot of comments, and the comments were along the lines of, the speed limit's a limit, not a target, or it's okay to do 60 mile an hour on that road. Some people do it to save fuel. And it's true, if you're to do 60 mile an hour on a 70 mile an hour dual carriageway, then nothing's going to happen. You're not going to get pulled over, you're not going to get fined. But if you're on your driving test and it's safe to do 70, but you only do 60 and you do it for long enough, then that's likely going to be a mark on the test. And in my experience on that stretch of road that was in that clip, if my pupil only gets up to 60 miles an hour on that stretch of 70 mile an hour road, they get a minor mark for appropriate speed. Appropriate speed on the driving test report form is what they mark when you go too slow. If you go too fast, they mark use of speed. When I'm marking my mock tests, I'm not just making up the marks myself. What I'm doing is I'm looking at what examiners have given my pupils on their actual test, the test that I've witnessed, and I've witnessed many, and then I'm just applying that to the mock test. So how much under the speed limit can you be and still pass? Well, that's very situational. It depends how long you're under the speed limit for, but you will not be marked down for being under the speed limit if there's any reason to be under the speed limit, such as dealing with a hazard. And quite often on the driving test, there are hazards around. So quite often you're not going to be able to do the speed limit because you're dealing with something. You will only be marked down for being under the speed limit if it's clearly safe to do the speed limit. Here are some examples. That road where I was doing 20 earlier, I'm confident that if I was to do that whole stretch of road at only 20 when it's clearly safe to do 30, that in itself would be a driving test fail. Let's say I wasn't doing 20, I was doing 25. Well, now I'm not so confident. I'm thinking it's unlikely that road would be a fail, it's likely it would be a minor mark. But if you continue to do that throughout your test, you only ever got up to 25 miles an hour and it was safe to do 30, then it's likely by the end of the test you would have accumulated enough minor marks that it would be a fail. Let's say 27 miles an hour, you're only ever getting up to 27 miles an hour when the speed limit is 30, then it's very unlikely you're going to fail the test. Technically still possible, but very unlikely. What's more likely is you're going to have some minor marks by the end of the driving test for appropriate speed. I've not seen a pupil get a minor mark for going 28 in a 30 or 29 in a 30. So why then, when the driving test is all about being safe and legal, why can you fail for going under the speed limit? If you're under the speed limit, you're not doing anything illegal and you're not being unsafe. But they would argue you are being unsafe because when you're going under the speed limit, when it's safe to do the speed limit, you're going to cause queues of traffic behind you, bunching of traffic, and you're going to encourage overtaking. Therefore, you're making the roads less safe. You could argue that putting 20 mile per hour speed limits in place where it's clearly safe to do 30 is doing the same thing. But since when have regulators got everything right? Here is an example of where driving the speed limit is unsafe, and the speed limit at the moment is only 20 miles an hour. It's vitally important you slow down for any hazards and only drive within your limits. At the moment, my limits are very low because I'm in a car and I feel like I need a boat. That is deep. That is above the pavement and up the grassy hill a little bit. Well, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're looking for car insurance, check out the links to Collingwood and Confused in the description. If you're learning to drive and want to insure yourself on somebody else's car, then Collingwood are there for you because you can do so without affecting the owner's policy, and that takes away a big stress from the owner of that car. Via the link at the moment, there's up to 35% off and a £20 gift card. If you want to insure your own car, I recommend checking out the link to confused.com because you fill out one quote form and get loads of quotes back from many insurers, and you can change your car on that quote as many times as you like without having to do the whole quote again. So if you're shopping around for cars, you can do one quote and change the car without doing the whole quote, just recalculate, and it's an easy way to compare the costs of insuring different cars. Using the links doesn't cost you anything, but it does support the channel, so thank you very much. Subscribe to get my future videos, and until the next one, cheerio.